Hello, and welcome back to EPR with your favorite environmental nerds, Nic and Laura. On today's episode, Nic and I talk about my trip to Ghana. We talk to Dr. Thomas RaShad Easley about the DEI Project, Mind Heart for Diversity, and being your unique self. And finally, Ghana was the first sub-Saharan African country to gain its independence from colonial rule. Ghana was colonized. Oh, geez.
Colonized.
Wow. Colonialized? Colonized. Colonized. Ghana was colonized by the British until it gained its independence March 6, 1957, which subsequently inspired other African nations to do the same, which is really awesome. I got to go to some museums and see this in action. It's very cool.
That's really cool.
Colonized.
Yeah. Colonoscopy.
Ay. Hit that music.
NAEP is hosting a special webinar on NEPA Phase 2, the Bipartisan Permitting Reform Implementation Rule, on Tuesday, September 19th, 2023 at 1 p.m. Eastern. NAEP is pleased to welcome speakers from the White House Council on Environmental Quality, who will present the recently released Notice of Proposed Rulemaking for revisions to the National Environmental Policy Act. The discussion will include an overview of a proposed rule and a question and answer session. Check it out at naep.org. We have a sponsor. All right.
Nope.
Well, you want me to create one? I've got an idea. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. You have an idea? Yeah. It doesn't matter if it works. It just
it's true.
has to fill a 30-second spot that would normally be for a other sponsor. So if you want to sponsor, help us fill a spot, please reach out to us. But today we do not have one. So ready, go.
You know, Laura, have you ever broken a window and it's super annoying because you have to replace the window? It's so frustrating, right? It can happen for any number of reasons. There's kids throwing balls, to your yard, robbers, whatever it is. You break a window and you're like, oh man, if only I didn't have all this natural light. Well, with Boards R Us, we will get rid of all your windows. That's right. Every window in your house, we will put boards over it. It'll look like an apocalypse, but guess what? Zombies won't be able to get in right away. They will eventually, but not right away. So that's the promise. That's the guarantee. Boards R Us. It'll save you 10 minutes in the zombie apocalypse, and everyone will think you're a creep. There we go. boardsrus.com. Yeah, that's what I got for you today.
30 seconds on the spot. Nice.
Woo!
And right in time for the holidays.
Oh man, let's get to our segment. All right, Laura, are we going to talk about your trip at all? Or are we going to?
My trip was crazy. I'm still processing it.
Yeah.
It's the Ghana trip?
Yeah, it's Ghana.
I did go there for a couple weeks and I did the canopy thing that you did too. So that's really cool. Cool. Yeah.
You've both been to Ghana? Okay. What is happening here?
So what was how long ago did you go?
It was probably 9 or 10 years ago now. And I only stayed for 10 days. So I stayed mostly in Accra doing volunteer eye exams, basically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's cool.
What part of Accra did you stay in? Was it nice?
I couldn't even tell you. I have no idea.
But was it nice? Did you have running water?
We did have running water. Yeah. So I consider it nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So people have cell phones now. That's probably different. Huh. And I was really surprised that the connection, they have cell network everywhere. But it's only 3G, so it's still slow, but they have it.
But they have it.
Yeah. So every time you meet someone, they want your contact information.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. Just interesting. So yeah, there's this crazy dynamic, but we flew into Accra and then went out to Elmina, which is past Cape Coast to the west.
Mm-hmm.
And had the wedding over that direction. And then we came back to near Accra and then went where my friend is living. And then we went north. So we went through Kumasi and then up to Mole National Park. So we didn't see any elephants, but I did get the contact information for our ranger and he sent us pictures of elephants from the next day. So my one friend who left early, she was looking through the photo. She's like, oh my God, he saw elephants. I'm like, no.
I mean, well, you can pretend. Yeah.
We looked real hard. Didn't see them. But yeah, and probably when you were there, the plastic situation may not have been as bad as it is now.
Oh no.
Dear God, there is garbage and plastic everywhere.
Oh, that's nice.
Like mounds and mounds. You see these big giant bags. You're like, what's that? Oh, it's big giant bags of plastic bottles just piled up. It's insane. So I'm curious to know like what solutions they may have. They have to be looking at something because they'll just be buried in it.
Yeah.
In 10 years. Absolutely buried. It's crazy. So, but yeah, the people were great. It was fun. As a vegetarian, it was a little it wasn't difficult to eat, but I had to eat the same things like over and over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, nobody got sick. Didn't get a single mosquito bite.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Not
good.
one. And yeah, I'm like, I'm from Florida. This is nothing. I don't know
Right. Well,
where they're supposed to be or how it's supposed to be like, but it was not bad. And then I put on sunscreen twice. I don't know when you were there, Danielle, but it was the rainy season. It was cloudy all the time. So didn't have to like, I thought I would be sunburned and covered in mosquito bites the whole time, but it was not. And then, yeah, the wedding was awesome. It was just interesting to see culturally. And then we did the slave fort thing, and that was pretty rough. We got to visit the chiefs. Oh my God, the visit with the chiefs was interesting.
what happened?
Just for Black.
Like it was Haiti. In Haiti, you know, like he decides to buy out food
comparable.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I don't know how exactly they are, but like he decides to buy out a restaurant. Like, hey, I'm buying all your food. Please give it out to people. And then it turns into this, you know, really scary spectacle at some point where people are arguing and fighting about the food and trying to, you know, getting really aggressive to the point where they had to leave. They're like, we can't be here. And it's just like, we wanted to do a nice thing and it ended up being more heartbreaking.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Which is really tough.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. So anyway, but overall, it was great. It was an awesome trip. And let's get to that interview.
All right.
Welcome back to EPR. Today we have Dr. Thomas RaShad Easley, CEO and founder of both Easley Branch LLC and Mind Heart for Diversity LLC, back on the show. Welcome, Thomas, aka RaShad Ease. I'm so glad to see you again.
What's going on, Laura? How you doing, my friend? What's up?
Doing great. Like we've been talking about, life's been weird and awesome and everything in between. So it's been almost 2 years out, I think, since you were on here.
Yes.
More, which is crazy, but I've been watching everything you're doing and excited to talk about it. But probably the biggest, most exciting thing is your latest project that dropped this week. So let's get into that before we talk about anything else. Let's talk about it. What is DEI? What did you do this week?
All right. So it actually dropped today. So I wanted it to drop on 9/11. You know, we know 9/11 means a lot, you know, here in the country and in the U.S. And so I wanted to release it on a significant day. One, you know, because when talking about DEI, I do believe that there's healing and trauma sometimes that people may experience. And then that's why 9/11, for me to drop it on 9/11, because I do think that we definitely still have that in our country, and I think we always will. But then I wanted to kind of give us another thing or another element to kind of focus our mind on that is definitely positive. I tell you that DEI is a positive record, you know, somewhat provocative. I say somewhat because the true intent is really not to agitate people. Right. The intent is to put stuff out there and make them kind of listen to it and go, okay, wait a minute, why did you say that? You know, versus listen to it and go, more like there's reason behind it. So DEI is out. We know that DEI, I think, I know we do know that DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. I talk about that throughout the entire album. On this record, DEI stands for disruptive education instruction, because that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm disrupting. I'm doing what I see a lot of other people do, disrupt, only I can explain why I disrupt. Yeah,
that's great. No, I love that you said it's provocative. Nick and I have been told that our show is sometimes provocative, and we're like, excuse me, what?
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing anything crazy. We're not going over the edge, but some people we're making someone think, right? So that's great.
That's it.
Yeah. So why do you call it a project and not an album?
Thank you for that question. Oh my goodness. Thank you. You don't realize that's actually the one thing I did want to explain. I say project.
I'm curious.
Thank you. Yeah, because an album technically would be an LP. Okay, so LP stands for long project. LP is anything that's like 35 minutes to an hour long. Then you have an EP, which is a shorter project, which is usually between 15 to 22 minutes long. This project is 23 on the dot minutes long. It's 7 songs. The reason why it's a project, so now I want to answer your question. The reason why it's a project and not an album is because none of these songs are on the same album. So what I actually have is I have 4 albums, 2 that are done, 2 that are in the making. And one of them I had to, which is the one that's ready to go. And I'm wearing a t-shirt for it today, which is the Branch album. This is a art piece, an abstract piece from an artist that we work with who designs our covers now, Ahmad Austin. And we were getting ready to release it about 3 months ago because we were finished. And then I met with some MCs here in the Triangle area because I wanted to get them on the next version of the album. So really the Branch, that's what this is. This is the Branch. The name of the label is The Branch, Too Easy Branch, but this is The Branch. It's part of a 3-series album, The Branch, The Tree, The Root. Okay. Nice. The song, The Branch, that's the hook. The Branch, the tree, the root with me. So the next albums are The Tree and the Root. I get with these MCs and I say, hey, I'd like to ask y'all to come and be on my tree album, right? Tree, family tree type of thing. And then I explained to them what it was that we were doing. And they kind of got more excited than I did in the moment. And I was like, why are you so excited? And they said that idea could be turned into a curriculum to teach kids. And I said, it's funny. I said, I am a professor, college professor, taught high school. And that's actually the aim of the record. Let me let you listen to it. So when they listened to the album, they came back and said, don't put it out. And I was like, dang, why is it that bad? And they said, no, you literally need to turn it into a curriculum. They said, it's fun, it's funny, it's all interludes, just like listening to De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rise.
Oh, yes.
It's fun like that. And the songs they said, the songs are hot, we got it, make it into a curriculum. So now 2 months ago, we turned it into a curriculum. A month ago, we found an organization that said that they want to work with it. And then that's when it hit me. Well, shoot, it's been months since I put something out. And I want to continue to give my fans, and my numbers are growing, more material. So I started listening to songs that I had. And then as I was listening, I was like, oh, Ancestral Worship, that's on the Tree album. That sounds good by itself. Takeoff, that's on TLC, the leaders. And then I started putting songs together. And then I thought, let me just see if people want to listen to this. And what I did was I sent, which is now out, I sent it to a bunch of DEI professionals. I said, listen to this and tell me what you all think. Do you get it? Do you like it? And when I started hearing their reactions, that's when I knew I had done something. And I said, all right, we're going to put it out. So that's why it's a project and not an album, because technically these songs are not technically together except for on this project. So that means, I'll just say this and then I'll hush. If you're listening to that record and anything hits you, like say if something hits you and it bothers you, what I always remind people is just like looking at a book, before you read the book, be intelligent for a moment and don't react. Sit with it and then try to talk to me as the artist, because what you think you know, the ignorance is probably higher than your awareness, and you don't know. This is part of a bigger project. There's a reason why the song sounds like this and why I'm talking about this in particular. So that's why it's a project.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Wow. I just had a whole bunch of thoughts all swirling around my head now. There's a group here I need to share it with. There is what you said. You said, be intelligent for a second and don't react. Hello.
Yeah, be intelligent. Please don't react. Yeah. Listen to it first. That's me talking about me too. I have to say this to myself, because I see things and I'm like, I know
got to do the work.
I know they, and I'm like, wait a minute. And then when I read it, I'm like, oh, I'm glad I didn't say nothing and post anything. So yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Right.
No, that's great. Okay. So it's a project because it's bigger than just the thing itself, which is great. And back to give us some maybe little snippets or examples of something about the different elements you have in there. Because you got like you said, some of it's trying to make people think, some of it's instructional. And then of course the environmental piece I think is in there too, right? So
Yep. So, okay. So it's 7 songs. I'll do it fast. I'm looking at the clock, try to talk, not fast, but be quick so I won't bore you. So it's 7 songs. Each song kind of touches on a different facet of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the first song is entitled Ancestral Worship. As a former campus Christian pastor, I know that when people who are in the Christian church, most of them, when they see that title, and if they know me, it's probably going to trigger them. Because we as Christians, if you will, or followers of Jesus, don't worship ancestors. But me as a person who is much more aware of religion, spirituality, African religion, African spirituality, being Black, being brown, indigenous, what all that means, what I am doing is I'm trying to educate at the same time people in the church, because I do think that people in the church are somewhat lost and confused too. and I would say in any religion, to be honest, but I'm not trying to attack religions. What I'm saying is most things that are organized still can't answer every question about life and living, especially when we talk about religion. So ancestral worship, I mean, I literally started off with had a dream in the ancestral realm. Grandma came to me. I was kneeling at her feet. She said, baby boy, what you doing? And it was a dream I had 6 months ago. Like, that's literally what happened in the dream. I was at the old church that I was raised in. My grandma was sitting at the piano. She taught me how to play the piano. And I was in the choir stand as a little boy. And I cried a lot when I woke up, because every time I dream about my grandparents, it's like they're there. So that's why I call it ancestral worship. And I literally said, I miss you so much. I need you right now. And she says, you got what you need, boy. I raised you in the South. Get up off your knees. I ain't your God. I'm your God. That's one of the reasons you got stronger after I died. That's literally what she said to me in the dream. So for those who don't like ancestral worship, like I said, listen to the song. You see, I'm not worshiping my ancestors, but I am talking to them. So that's the first one. Take Off, song number 2. Laura, that's the most mainstream club pop song on the record. The major point of that is to shake your booty and enjoy the song. But I do talk about some things on the record. I'll admit, it's like when I say mainstream, the second verse of the song is totally about me. I'll be honest, it's like you would think I'm probably talking about lusting after a woman or a female, but that's not what I'm doing. It's the way I'm talking about her. But the first verse is all about DEI. I even have a line in there where I say, beef is the worst food. 2 ways is a weapon. We hate each other or we buy the poison that they selling. Because I'm a plant-based eater. I said, I consume something different that's keeping me on a mission. This is space age pimping without the pimp. Do you see what I'm saying? Like I just said, it's space age, you know. The second verse, I'm talking about a woman. I say hips and booty in them jeans, big old legs I want to squeeze, rub it down and make her respect her first and get between. Let me just explain what I mean by that. When I say get between, I'm not talking about legs. I'm talking about between here and the waist is the heart. Right. So I'm saying if I respect her first, I can get to her heart. Now, the reason why I say big old legs, because I'm talking about big women. I'm not trying to fat shame, body shame, you know, whether you're thin or slim either, but I do know that most shaming in the public realm goes to people who are bigger. So that's what I'm doing. But as you listen to the record, it's almost like he's saying, he being me, he's saying some deep things that seem like it's sexual, but it's not. It's all sensual. And it's about respecting the woman. I'm like, women with a freaky side, come stand right next to me. Not behind me, not in front of me, stand right next to me. I say 50 cents, that makes 2 quarters. That's 5 dimes. Where is she? Meaning one woman is worth that much. Instead of us looking like I'm looking for 1 dime, it's like, no, actually every woman has multiple things inside of her. So I want to go for all of it versus just one. And then I'll close with the last thing. Then I say, you look presidential and scholarly. Your flesh I'm blessed to see. Your curves are hypnotic, oh, yes, that's weaponry. So there's me acknowledging that for me to even see more of you, I have to earn that. And then I own what I think is beautiful. I said, those curves are hypnotic, like I see what I see. So that's me saying for those people who say you can't compliment, I totally think that's a lie. You can. You just don't have to be a creep about it. And then for those who can't take a compliment, maybe you're struggling with insecurities. Sure. You know, if someone is appropriately doing that, I'm not saying if someone's in the problem, I'm saying if someone is like, you look nice. Why do you say I look nice? That's not my bag. I'm not arguing this with this person. I'm going to keep walking. I'm not getting into this argument with you, you know, because I'm not doing that. That's what I mean when I say DEI is in a way it like gives us something to think about and to talk about. Now, I'll just talk about one more song and then I'll pause so I won't bore you.
Do it. I'm already loving the first 2.
Okay. DEI, the title track. Disruptive Educational Instruction. I literally wrote this song particularly to do nothing but provoke thought. Listen, that's the whole point of the song, just to provoke. And what I did was I put me in the song so that there would be things that I would react to. And then I put me in the song so that things about me other people would react to. And then, so first line, you want diversity, then why are you scared of it? So every line is like I'm going at the audience that I'm talking to in that moment. You want diversity. So many want diversity. Why are you scared of it? Racially, yeah, I know we all cousins. That don't mean certain ones can get corrupted. I can see straight through you. TSA, check my luggage. Because I got baggage that I carry on with me. Being black is dope, but no, it ain't easy. DEI, tell me what is it? DIE if you don't live it. And so it's like, basically, if you're not living diversity, that's what the planet is, just die, because diversity is all around us. That's basically what I'm saying. I'm not saying die if you don't like it. I'm saying you're not going to be here because the world is diversity. But then I have other things. Like I say, Get Out My Face, entitled Little Without Cursing. It's a clean album. I say, you want to cross that line, not on these bridges. You can't say the N word. You ain't that pigment. Use Africa to justify it, but you never visit. So that's me saying to people who want to deal with the N word, of course, of lighter hues, like, no, you can't say the word, it's not for you. But then this is me talking to Black and brown people like me, because I don't use the word. I'm saying some of y'all use, the whole NEGUS, the royalty aspect to justify it, but you ain't never visited the continent. What the heck are you doing? So you see, that's what I'm saying. The whole point of this is to really get people to think, to go, yeah, you'll see yourself like, that's right. But then I also want you to see yourself and go, wait a minute, am I right? And that's the purpose of the song DEI. So basically, everyone can be a victim, but everyone can also be a perpetrator, which means we all can fix these things and address these. It's just everybody's responsibility to deal with DEI, not just one person. It's not a woman thing. It's not an African-American thing. It's a human thing.
Right, for sure.
So that's the point. Like I said, 4 more songs, but y'all check them out. I promise you some bangers.
No, I love it. I mean, the messages have to come from everywhere, right? We've got workshops and classes, and most people who are going to talk about DEI are in a corporate environment where they get a class. Someone comes in, teach it, maybe some schools, like you're doing some programs and things, but an average person who doesn't, works in a job that doesn't have corporate training and stuff, like where are they sitting down talking about this or having a conversation, right? So like having it come in through music is a whole nother huge population of people that can hear this and speak it. And then of course there's books, right? But a lot of people don't read books. So I think it's really nice to have we need every avenue, right? All fronts.
Yes. Thank you.
So awesome. Where can people find this music of yours?
Wherever you get your music online digitally first. Okay. So whether that's Tidal, Google, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, it's there. Okay, you can go and find it. Okay, Deezer, wherever you go, this is somewhere. And then the Easley branch, which is our website, the Easley branch. I'm pointing because I got the logo on the back of the shirt too.
Nice.
The EasleyBranch.com. You can go to our site and you'll see it there. And one of the reasons why it's there is because this is the first project that's just mine where I've had all of our producers on the label. So we have three primary producers on the Easley branch, and they all also have have a song or a song or two on this record. So I'm happy about that.
Okay, great. So I was curious about the label. Is it someone else's label, your label?
It's me. It's all me. Okay. I just finished doing a big presentation this past Saturday and performing, explaining this to, I'm not kind of connected to another MC hip hop group. And I explained to them the name of the label is the Easley branch. So of course, my last name is Easley. And I explained to them that the label started with me teaching at NC State, and I was promoting my own music. I started a business so that I would be a legit business musician when I'm out here book gigs and things like that. And then, that's right. Syracuse and academics. What happens when people at school, the students started signing up for my class because they heard that I made music. And what I did was I used the music and go into the studio as an incentive for them to pass my class and do well in school. And so, lo and behold, let's just say after about 4 years, I had 12 people, coworkers, colleagues, students, professors who all wanted to do something in music, but some of them didn't necessarily they weren't sure if they could. That's the problem in academia. We overthink everything. When you get of a certain age, I'm 45. I'll even admit, when I was a kid, I didn't know Chuck D was only in his 20s, Public Enemy, when he was rapping and I was a teenager. I thought 20s was old at 14.
Right.
Now I'm 45. I'm in better shape than most 18 to 30-year-olds I know. So we created this label together and put music out together. And that's partly why the actual album that's coming out at some point is called The Branch. That's really what I'm doing. It's like I'm taking what we do on The Branch and using that as a way of talking about the environment.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So you want to talk about The Branch for a second before we dive into consulting?
Sure. Yeah. So The Branch. Okay. So I'll say this. Okay. Your podcast focuses on the environment in particular.
Right.
So on the last song, I'm kind of giving something away. If you get the album, the last song is called FTC, stands for the children. Wu-Tang always said, we for the children, not children, children. CHIRREN. But anyway. Yep. So we say we're for the children because we work with people across, like my label, we work with people across multiple generations, whether you're 80, 70, me 40s, 50s, 30s. And then when you listen to the album, I have a young 6-year-old who's on the hook with me. So
Nice.
we work with kids. And this young man, his name is DJ Green Jr., because my producer, DJ Green, is his son who made the beat. And that young man can rap. I mean, I'm in the studio looking at his little cute self with all his long hair. And he'll be listening to my music and he'll look at me, Doc. And I'm like, what's up, baby? And then he'll just start rapping, tap or something. I'll say louder, I can't hear you. Oh, I'm sorry that you can't hear me. And I'm just like,
that's amazing.
I said, Blue Carter, get ready. Here he comes. So the name of the song is for the children. And I started off when I say strolling in the woods on the Sunday when I could be in church. Today meditate with the elements, fire, wind, and earth, wind, and fire, a smelling essential, wearing frankincense and myrrh. So I'm trying to talk about what's going on outside and some of the elements you get from outside. When the song ends, you're going to hear something because you're going to hear it. You just don't know that you're hearing it. That is the intro to the branch.
Nice.
Because the branch on the album, that beat for that song, it wasn't really meant to be a song. It was an interlude track that me and DJ Green made for the album, and I'm singing on it. And so that's what it's for. So it ends with the interlude starting. So what the branch is it's a record that has, of course, here I only have two of our producers on there, Joe T, the producer, and DJ Green. They produced the whole thing, and I co-produced it. And on this record, it's 6 kids who are on an excursion. We would say field trip, but we were kids 6 and 7 years old who were going to what's known as here in Raleigh, Shavis Park. So their teacher, Mrs. Easley, is taking them on the trip. My mom was a school teacher. That's why I got into education. And my mom would snap on kids. So you get to hear her voice snapping throughout the whole album. She's going off. That's what makes everybody laugh when you hear her going, okay, kids. And then the 6 kids are all the baby versions of all of us on the label. Talitha Rising, who's on the label, JS 20,000, who's a producer, DJ Green, B Guy Body. It's 6 people. And then there's Thomas, who is RaShad's first name. And so Thomas is listening to music the entire album, but he's rapping what they're saying. And so the kids are making fun of him a little bit. Like, they're like, what are you listening to? Is that tree rap? So they're kind of calling it corny. But as the album goes and the songs progress, they start taking his headphones from him and listening to his music. By the time you get to the end of the album, the kids love it, but they're also having an experience outdoors. So they're in this park and they're learning about the park, which was formed because Pullen Park, that park was formed, I think, in the 60s. They didn't want Black people in that park. That's why Shavis Park got made. So now they're learning about that. They're outdoors and they see other people outdoors. And Thomas is always looking at trees. The kids always pick on him for that. They're like, why are you always looking up at the tree? And he's always like, y'all don't want to talk about this? And they're like, hell no. Like, literally, we're in the hood. So you're going to hear hood. Yep. Like, hell no, bro, we don't talk about that. But then they're also talking about their community. So there's a song in there that's called Science Project, which is about the projects where the kids are explaining how they see each other as competition. And that's one of the reasons why we go at each other versus our success being a collective effort. So the branch, like I said, it's a play on word, the branch, about our label, but it's explaining about the environment. So what we do in the environment, but it's also a lot about diversity and maturation, how to grow up. And then the end, and I am happy about this. The last song is called Nature Walk. And you're literally walking in nature. The music, the beat, the drums are footsteps on leaves. You hear it. Like, you just won't catch it at first to the end of the song. But Nature Walk is one of the things that some of the people here in North Carolina and in Colorado, they call smoking weed. So we're doing a play on words. We're doing both. Right. It's going to Nature Walk. And then for those who do that, they're going to hear it and go, are they talking about that? But we're not. but we're not talking about that. We're talking about walking in nature. But if that's what it takes to get you to us, then we want to do that. But then the album ends with the kids talking about, let's take a nature walk. And then one of the guys go, yeah. And then they go, he didn't mean like that. And that's how the album ends. Right. Like, no, that's not what he meant. So we want you to see so that's the whole point. We want you to have fun. We want you to enjoy this album. We want you to think, and you're going to dance a lot. And so there are 3 singles that are out right now off the Branch album: The Branch, Deep Rooted, and Rain Dance. So those are the 3 songs. Rain Dance is my highest selling and most streamed single right now. It came out like 3 months ago, but it's still moving because it makes you want to get down. Yeah. And Deep Rooted, I played the trombone on it. So we are bringing a lot. We keep live instrumentation in our music. So I'm also playing. and the trumpet and the piano.
I did not know that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to hear real music. The pianos that you hear on the album is either me or DJ Green playing it. We're playing the keyboard, and the horns, the brass. That's all. Any brass you hear on this project is all me. Super
cool. That's awesome. Thanks. All right. Well, we gotta move on. I can talk about this all day, but let's move on to Mein Heart for Diversity. So last time I talked to you, you were still at Yale in the School for Environment, right?
Sure was. Right. Mm-hmm.
And we have talked in the past about forestry and being out in the woods and all that stuff. So what has happened? You started Mein Heart for Diversity. You jumped out of Yale, took the leap to do this thing. So how did that happen? There's so much to talk about here. So where do you want to start?
Hey, I'm going to say that, don't edit this out. There are a lot of things to talk about with regard to that process offline, Laura. And I'd love to talk to you about that, okay? But online, what I would share is the primary reason why I left is because my dad needed support. My family needed help. He's aging. Something happened back home. And so my sister and I were both living in Connecticut. Our parents are both in Alabama. That's too far away. And so we both agreed that we both needed to be closer, and I jumped first. I said, well, then I'll do it. I'm not, not because I'm the oldest, but I'm the oldest, and my sister had taken care of our mother during her breast cancer bout. So I said, so you did that, then let me do this. And so I went back home to take care of my dad and my mom, and Yale, but I got to give Yale props for something. Because of the reason, Dean Indy Burke, I got to definitely give her a shout out. She respected why I was leaving. And so she offered to keep working with me. And I'm still working with Yale. I was teaching a class, an anti-racist pedagogy class. And then we started the Heartwood podcast there. And it's still going. And so still running the school. Yale still puts the podcast out. I have a student and co-host, not employee. He's a co-host. I'm not paying for his time, but he's a co-host. He leads. He puts the episodes together. He really decides who's on the show. Awesome. And he supports me. He comes up with my questions. His name is Bennett Alupo, to say his name. Minnesota's and Nigeria's finest. I love him. He's a great brother, great support. And so Heartwood is still there, and he's finishing up his master's. He's a second-year master's student. I actually believe in the forestry side. So I'm a forester.
Yep.
And congrats. And so yes. So Mein Heart for Diversity launched after I stepped out. Published a book, and the book is Mein Heart for Diversity, entitled the same as the business, of course, marketing here. And in the book, what we do is I wrote about the success that we've had doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work, but how did we do it? Because I do feel that when it comes to DEI in particular, I know some of my contemporaries are going to hear this, okay? But I believe that some of us who get involved in this DEI work, some of us have not probably really been successful in DEI work, meaning we kind of went off on our own because what was going on in the workplace was too much. And that's not shaming them or making people feel bad, but here's why I'm mentioning that. Because when I've been brought into a lot of places as a consultant, and of course I'll come in on the back end of someone else. I have to take the cheaper amount that's left because someone has spent a lot of money on this other person or this other firm, and they're like, they didn't get what they needed. And I completely get why they didn't, because if you have not done this work, meaning if you have not been successful in changing the way an organization looks, which I have been, and that's not a brag because it's hard work and it takes teamwork to do it. So I'm not like, I did it, we did it.
Sure.
But if you also have not changed the culture or helped shift the culture in the place, meaning shift how they operate, you go in, HR looks one way, when you leave, HR looks another way. See, that's what I did when I worked both at Yale as well as at NC State, and even some of my brief work with the Forest Service. When I left, things looked different. So one of the things we do in Mein Heart for Diversity is we help people to not burn out, because I did burn out. Right. Another thing that we help people with is, if you want to do diversity, we help you address with how to talk to people who resist it or who do not like it. So we do diversity mentoring. Another thing we do is we do curriculum development. I am a professor. My doctorate is in education, the only discipline that leads to every discipline. So we help people understand how to teach it, how to deliver it, how to administer it. And then on a corporate level, or on a nonprofit level, or on an academic level, pharmaceutical, information technology. And those are the industries that we're in right now. And of course, some others that I'm not mentioning, we will go in and we help organizations, associations, companies to do your DEI work, to initiate or complete your initiative, or if there's a problem or conflict, we deal with talent retention and conflict resolution. And lastly, we're not pigeonholed in DEI. We do organizational development and we do leadership development. And that's why soon My Heart for Diversity is going to turn to My Heart Strategies, which would then be my next book and my next business. So
very cool. That's awesome. Yeah. So let's brag. Give us an example of a turnaround or something.
Okay. Well, I'll say this about Yale. That's why I'm always big about promoting Dean Burke, because she was the main push. When I came there, I was the first and only administrator of color that they had in that school. Mm-hmm. In the school. When I left, there was 7.
Nice.
And I'm talking about assistant or associate deans.
Yeah.
Associate dean means they can't fire you. They can't get rid of you. So when I left, there was an associate dean, fortunately, who basically got the promotion next level of my position. And now she's in that and she's running DEI. That's Professor Dorceta Taylor, who a lot of people know her, University of Michigan, brilliant, known for DEI in the environment. But I'm glad that I can kind of say, while I followed her as the person who wrote all of this stuff, in many ways, she now followed me as coming in as the associate dean of DEI after I was the assistant dean. She has 2 people working under her. I came in by myself, so I had to do 3 people's job alone for almost a year. Then I brought in another person, Yolanda Quinones, aka Yoli. Those who worked with her know I'm talking about. She's in Texas now, but we did this work together. That's not me minimizing anything that Professor Taylor is doing, because it's big. I've been back up there and seen it. She's like rocking and rolling, hip hopping it. It's crazy. Okay.
That's great.
But when you're the initial person, which is what I've been in everywhere that I've been, it's kind of like, and I don't have biological children, but for those who have children, your first child, especially if you have more than one, you make the most mistakes for him, her, or they. Trust me, I know. And so that's what happens, when you're the first person going in, when you're the initial person, all of the mistakes happen with you, that, which also means that if you can work through the conflict, the solutions come out of it too. But when you leave, if you're not taking care of yourself, you got a few bruises or hurt. When I left NC State, I kind of left a little bit I was kind of torn down when I stepped out of Yale, because I'm not going to say I left Yale because I'm still affiliated with them.
Sure.
And I'm still affiliated with NC State too. But when I stepped out away from Yale, the way I did it, I'm fortunate, they brought me back. And when I stepped away, I wasn't broken down. And when I stepped away, I still feel like I was together and I had my brilliance. So I had more to offer. Yeah. I emotionally was secure and I was healthy. So that's why I say we help people not burn out and how to do this work. And so for my people who out there who are, if they listen to this and get agitated because they hear what I'm saying and they're like, he said I didn't do it. I'm not saying you can't do anything. I'm not saying that you're bad, nothing like that. But what I'm saying is we as DEI professionals, justice and access to, so Deja professionals, we do not need to go into these organizations wearing our emotions on our sleeve, because then the work becomes about us instead of the work being about them. We do not need to go into these places trying to process with people. I have a friend of mine. I love him. I won't say his name, but he's my brother. He's my partner in a lot of this. He's older. He's an elder. I learned a lot from him. But he and I do this work, and I challenge him a lot because he reads a lot. I do too. And he comes up with these new ideas. And I'm like, that's great. Process that mess with me. We do not need to go in front of other people. They don't pay us to process in front of them. They pay us to help them process. So if you're a DEI professional, you better make sure that you know your stuff. If you have abstract ideas, make sure that you remove the abstractness out of it sometimes so you can articulate to other people who are not abstract thinkers, and make sure that if you are emotionally insecure or struggling, you don't need to be leading anyone in this work, especially in that moment, because just like the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. And if you are carrying baggage, there's no way you're going to be able to deal. That's not true. It's going to be very difficult for you to deal with. Like if you're a Black person and you got baggage around the N-word and then you hear it, it is not the responsibility to overreact or to react to somebody when you're in that role.
Right.
When you're in that role. I'm not saying that if I heard it, I wouldn't react, because I did when I was at Yale. I had to remind people, you say it, don't stand too close to a window. I don't play that. I'll toss your ass out that window. I don't play. But then that's when I had to check myself and go, as a professional in that space, because I determine what professional looks like for me, not other people. But as a professional in that space, I want you to catch everything I'm saying. I determine what it looks like for me. Mm-hmm. I was like, no, you don't need to act like that. So I didn't act like that. But I understand why someone would. And that's why I help people to deal with things when they happen as much as I can. Like I can't speak for a woman, so I never do that. But I do work with women who also deal with stupid ignorant jokes that people make dealing with gender and gender identity. And I go, hey, I'm not telling you what to do and how to react because that's up to you. But I'm saying, think about the end in mind. What do you want to happen? If you want something to happen, then don't react. Let's respond. That's what I mean when I say I help people.
Yep. No, I love it. That's really great. And all of that makes a lot of sense. I like that approach. You know, it's not about you, it's about them and what they've asked you to help them with. And yeah, I appreciate you not speaking for women. I try not to speak for Nic and I are always like, we go into a conversation. We're like, we try to bring on people like you so you can come in and we hear from you. Like, we're not trying, Nic and I, to tell anybody what to do about diversity, right? Like, we're not people to tell people. I need to hear it from somebody else who is as qualified to do this. So really appreciate you being here. It feels like we've been talking for 15 minutes, but it's been almost an hour. So I need to wrap this up or my editor is going to kill me. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to touch on, we have this segment called Field Notes. And for you, Fields is more in classrooms and conference rooms and things like that. But I wanted to talk about the presentation that you gave for 300 something students at NCSU's Emerging Scholars Academy. Yeah. So you started off with some lyrics, and then I would like to know, just kind of for you, how was that? Was one of the first youth programs you did, or one that large? And then there's a specific quote I wanted to ask you about. So just tell us about that event first. Okay.
They were bringing these young folks to NC State for recruitment. Remember, I'm the College of Natural Resources diversity director. Mm-hmm. So I'm there helping to recruit. And I was invited to this program. And my mentor at the time, Dr. Rupert Nicost, who's still at NC State, told me, when you get in front of people, do what comes natural to you. Because he's a Ford professor. He's a award-winning professor. This man's written at least 4 books. Brilliant, just a beautiful person. Navy, military guy. He's a big black guy from Louisiana. So sometimes people get intimidated by him. I didn't say he intimidates people. They get intimidated by him. So that means that's their problem. Dr. Nicost starts his class with, that's literally what he does. And it's like, damn, man, like, what are you doing? But he says it gets your attention. By the end of class, everybody's doing it. So I thought, well, what comes natural to me? Well, what comes natural to me is to spit rhymes or to deliver bars. So when I got in front of the room, Dr. Nicost came back to my mind, and I did it in front of them. But I didn't just spit bars because I wasn't a person. I'm not like that starving artist who, buy my album. I'm trying to get rich off of being whatever, even though I think I'm better than most of these MCs that's famous anyway. What I am. But anyway, I'm like, no, I want to make this relevant to you. So that's why the piece that you're talking about, I talked about, here's my minority report about what's going on with the poor. No clean water, got liquor stores. No banks get housing, can't afford. Got drugs, got guns, got more. Dope boys, no books, gym floors. Dead pool, can't swim, lead in my pores. Contaminated, mentally challenged, I'm sore. Get scholarships with my body, earn scores. I want to use my mind and explore. But cricket scared cops stand at my door. Say I resemble this dude that shot 4. I don't own the gun, but I am at war. Praying about who came after the 44th. President evidence there will be no more. Black folk for a while, not expecting support. I wrote this before the 2016 election. So, of course, that was before, number 45, Kay came in office. That's what that last rhyme is for. And we also wrote it, this was, we were still talking about Trayvon Martin. This is before Ahmaud Arbery. This is before Breonna Taylor. This is before Mr. George Floyd. It's like Miss Taylor, Mr. Arbery. Mr. Martin, technically, he was taken way too soon. And so that's why I say crickets, cops stand at my door. Say I resemble this dude that shot 4, but I don't own the gun, but I am at war. That part of the line is actually not true because I do. Don't mess with me. Anyway, but that's me being peaceful. And the students were like, wow. And they were hooked by the lyrics and the delivery, but then they started paying attention to what I was saying. And I said, what I'm talking about, these are some issues that we try to rectify in the College of Natural Resources. And I figured out that's the best way to hook people from our community, to give them something that's more connected to who they are as a person, not just to an industry to make money. And that's what they do in academia. Let's get you to a job so you can work. That's a problem with education. That's another podcast. I love to talk about it, but that's another podcast, because that's dealing with the DuPonts and dealing with the Rockefeller. That's a whole different discussion. But I want them to do what they want to do, that they're passionate about, but also still go and get educated so you can access the network that comes along with it. And so that when people see you come in the room, that they'll listen to you. So that's what it was about. And we did end up recruiting students from that institute into our college.
Yeah, that's awesome. Perfectly aligned with the quote that pulled out. So I feel like every line that you spoke in that, somebody will hear something different, right? Pull some other something out of that speaks to them or causes them to have a reaction or whatever. But the one for me, which is what you're saying, is we are here to help you unlearn what is still the fear that makes you want to be like them and not yourself. I just wanted to hear from you like a little bit more about what that line means to you and the students.
Sure. So when I'm standing in that room, it was majority African-American or Black or Latinx or Latina, Latino, some say Hispanic, but we're getting away from that term, and Indigenous or First Nations or Native American. Okay. So some would say red, some would say brown, some would say Black students, literally like that's all that was in the room. In addition to, there were also a few, white students, like there as well. Well, I got a friend, his name's Mickey Fern. I mean, his name, I think he's one of the most brilliant people when it comes to this DEI stuff. Look him up. He's brilliant, F-E-A-R-N, Fern. And I'm telling you, you can talk to him for all year. Me all day, him all year. That's how brilliant he is. He's 76, look like he's 46. Anyway.
Wow.
When he first came to NC State, one of the things he said, he won't mind me saying this, but he said, one of the things that white people need to understand is that we don't want to be them.
Right.
Now, I understood what he meant, but in essence, I thought, how do you say that to people without them getting triggered? How do you say that? Or does it matter if they get triggered? So Mickey and I used to, and we still do, that's my brother, we still hang out. We actually still work together. Yeah. So Mickey and I would have back and forth about this. So then what I recognized was, whoa, okay, remember when I said Mickey is in his 70s? So one of the things I noticed that people of the baby boomer generation, even though we're all of the same, there's no difference in generation and time because we experience a lot of the same things. But if you're of the baby boomer generation, I noticed that you're either intimidated or afraid to talk about race in some regard because growing up in that era, or it's the only thing you can talk about. Because it's like you're free to do it. That's Mickey. It's like every time I'm around him, look, if we eating pancakes, he gonna find a way to bring race up. If somebody brown's in the room, making a sangria, he gonna find a way to bring race. He just gonna do it. If LGBTQ plus, there's something big going on television, he gonna find a way to bring it back to race. Like, I told you, bro. Okay, me, I'm Gen X, right? So I'm of the different. So I do care about how people respond and react when they hear it and what they do. Okay, now back in front of that room. I don't want white students to feel like this African-American man doesn't like me because I'm white.
Right.
I'll just say that. My pride does not shut down your pride unless you're insecure, which has nothing to do with me. So the same way I'm demonstrating that, I also don't want, and there's a song on DEI Pride. Please, y'all go check it out, song number 6. But then and that song in particular is targeting Black and brown kids because I want them to see how someone develops pride in their group, especially when you're surrounded by images that don't look like you. And I want people who are not in the group to hear that anger and agitation that comes when you have an awakening. So now, to answer your question, what I mean, there's so many pieces of who we are as Black and brown people that we don't know because we're inundated and saturated with this type of education that we deal with in this K-12 space. So going back to what I started with, ancestral worship, you can't talk about ancestral worship unless you understand it. So unless you deal with it, it makes no sense to you. So if you're Black and brown, I'm like, you need to understand this because you come from a people where this is what they have always done. You may not know it, but this is what they've always done. So in the room, when I say we don't want to be them, we want to be ourselves. What I'm basically saying is we don't want to be what's not natural to who we are. We don't want to be what doesn't come from us. We don't want to be what is not us. And I think that's why a lot of times we struggle and we burn out in these academic settings. We struggle in these nonprofit or these corporate settings. That's why, because we're in a space that in many ways wasn't built for us. So you're assimilating every day to be something that's not meant for you. That's why I said I determine what professional looks like. Dean Burke didn't determine it for me at Yale. I determined it at Yale. But it's because when I was at NC State, Dean Watson determined it, and what she thought didn't work for me.
Right.
I said, that ain't gonna work. And I'm a grown person. I got a doctorate just like you. No, you can't tell me who and how to be when you don't even know how to be me because you didn't grow up like, and that's why I need to stop trying to be you. That's what I mean by that. It's time for me to be me, you be you. But when you're you and you're successful and you're happy and I'm me, those boundaries come together and then we make beautiful things together. 100 plus 100 equals 100. 1 plus 1 can equal 1. One whole to another whole makes a whole. That's what I mean by that.
I love that. That's fantastic. Yeah. And I feel like, that fear part is all about the expectations, right? I'm even just myself being a consultant and all the other weird, crazy things I'm doing. Like no one else needs to understand that but me. So appreciate that. But like I said, we are, oh my God, we're so out of time. But is there anything else you wanted to touch on that we didn't get to?
Yes, I'll do it fast. Please check out the website because our music is there. And when you go, you'll see that we don't just make music. We are college educated right now, men, that is mostly who's actively on the label. And we talk about our intelligence. And in our music, we challenge the status quo. I don't agree with anything 100%, but I'm the only person that don't get on my nerves. So I'm going to say things that may be selfless and may rub people the wrong way. In some ways, I don't care because I'm satisfied. I'm happy with myself. But because I am human, I do care because I care how people feel. We are all the same on that label. All of us do the same thing. My producers produce music like that. B's the other lyricist. He makes music that way. The other thing is I still do consult. I have multiple clients, and I can say if anything bothers people, I can tell you this: none of my clients complain about my work because we are very professional. We do handle business. When I say we, it's myself and my associate partner, Keisha King, who's based in Denver, Colorado. And then last but not least, I just wanted to thank everybody for listening. Thank you, Laura, for allowing me to come on and do this because I do want to talk about this record with more and more people, especially those who care about diversity and the environment. And I want people to know that there is no separation between us and the environment. We are in the environment at all times. There's no such thing as outdoors because you're technically always in it. And we get that on the branch. And DEI is not about everybody being comfortable. DEI really, in my opinion, is about us all being uncomfortable and then finding our own comfortable space wherever we are or empowering ourselves to do it. So I don't believe in people giving me something or doing something for me to feel comfortable. That is my job. And those who feel the different way, I'd love to talk to you because this album would definitely push against that idea. But I want to talk to people. I'm not a dangerous person. I'm not a violent person. I'm not a mean person. I'm like LL Cool J. I'm a good guy, but I'm not a nice guy. I will protect and defend myself, but I'm always ready to converse and engage first. So that's it.
Fantastic. So if those people did want to reach out to you to have a conversation, chat a little bit more about it, or just ask you some questions, where would they find you?
You can either, I want them to email me if they like, Thomas R. Easley at easleybranch.com. That's EASLEYBRANCH. You can find me on Instagram at Dr. Thomas RaShad Easley or Easley Branch Music or Facebook, Thomas Easley. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitter as RaShad Ease. And then, of course, like I said, follow our website, theeasleybranch.com. That's where you can get me or get any of us, and you can come and you can converse with us. Or Heartwood Podcast, check us out. If you are curious about the consulting piece, because I'm sure there might be some people who go consulting, that's a musician. I just tell people it's not my fault that I'm dope. And then I go, maybe it is because I'm doing it, but it's not my fault that I'm dope. Right. But we're all dope. That's the thing. Everyone has an artist inside of them. Everyone has something else that they can do. So if you want to talk to me about consulting, remember my book, My Heart for Diversity, and you can find me there. So then to go to myheartfordiversity.com and you can find me and my consulting partner there.
Yep. Love it. I mean, why wouldn't you want a dope consultant? I mean,
come on now.
Who wants a lame consultant?
Who?
All right. Thank you, RaShad. This was awesome. I'm super happy to talk to you again, and we will catch you later.
All right now.
That's our show. Thank you, Dr. Easley, for joining us today. Please be sure to check us out each and every Friday. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Bye.
See ya, everybody.